this rotation of buyers happening. This market, the dip that we're seeing is extremely healthy. I want more of the smaller Bitcoiners, the people who have made enough money, et cetera, to sell their Bitcoin to BlackRock, to Fidelity, to all these institutions that are representing buyers that will never ever sell. That is more healthier for this asset. And then as the price goes up, they will not be selling. They'll be using other strategies to hedge their downside. And that's ultimately healthier and makes the markets more efficient. So this is absolutely good. I'm glad it's happening. It makes me more confident that we're actually going to go up a lot faster than what people think. I really wanted to urgently talk about this dip that's going on in the market and the dump that's happening. Clearly, the GBTC selling is not over. Yesterday was the single biggest GBTC selling day in a while. 15. This is the most amount of outflows that's come out of an ETF in like 15 years. It is unbelievable how much selling pressure there is. So much so that the CEO of Grayscale was on CNBC today saying, I just want everybody to know that we are going to lower these fees at some point as this market matures, right? So clearly something has snapped in in Grayscale's offices, and clearly someone is realizing that they made a mistake when it comes to the fees, and it looks like they're about to execute on something to make these fees more competitive. Makes sense, right? You've basically lost, more than 250,000 Bitcoin in the space of 10 weeks. And it's probably now a good time, if you want to maintain your AUM at least, to start lowering the fees to keep it more competitive. But again, this is not going to stop players like BlackRock and Fidelity and et cetera, because just about 1% of their assets currently under management into Bitcoin, you're talking about a $100 billion buy for BlackRock and a $45 billion buy for Fidelity. So they're waiting for these moments to happen in the market where there is a selling pressure in order to execute on that. And again, it's one of the reasons why I want you to subscribe to the channel, because these types of conversations are important so you don't panic sell. I had to stop a friend yesterday from panic selling some Bitcoin because he thought that we were going to crash down to $30,000, et cetera, right? Like, look, there is a buyer rotation going on here because we can see it in the data. Hodl 15 Capital on Twitter always puts out great data showing that small holders of Bitcoin are dumping their Bitcoin and big holders of Bitcoin are buying up that Bitcoin. And that's extremely good for the market. I don't care what anyone has to say. That's extremely good. And the more of this that happens right now, the higher the price will be as we go up, because the holder is different. I've been trying to say this for months, but the quality of the holder is extremely important, and the quality of the holder is improving now, and that's what we want. We want people who have had enough, who have made enough money, who have done all these, basically satisfied all their goals, and they want out. We want them to be out. So hopefully that continues, and hopefully we can flush them all out this cycle, because I believe once we get over this selling pressure here, we are going straight to $100,000. I still stand by my $100,000 by May 7th timeline, which is 40 trading sessions from closing above 69.5. So I still believe that that's going to happen. And this flush out is extremely good and healthy for Bitcoin at this moment, specifically at this moment in time. But right now, you're going to have to deal with people that are being bearish, that are having these conversations about, oh my God, I thought price was going up. You got the bears coming out and saying we were right, the price is going down. Let me just put these things into perspective. On the 23rd of January, we were at $38,000. Right now, we're at $63,000. I'm seeing people more bearish now than they were at $38,000. That's absolutely ridiculous to me. Check yourself, because if you don't check yourself, as the saying goes, you got to check yourself before you wreck yourself. And you are going to wreck yourself if you don't get your mind right on what exactly is going on right now. It's the buyer rotation happening. There is not much else that is going on here. So for you, and here's the interesting part about psychology, it's quite intriguing. Someone who didn't buy one Bitcoin at $73,000 last Tuesday is probably now sitting here not buying one Bitcoin at 63,000. And that's a very interesting psychological shift that you have to think about, because why would you not buy one Bitcoin at 63,000 when you wanted to buy it but missed out at 73,000? The reason is that you're trapped in price and not understanding value. And it's very important as an investor to always think in terms of value, not in terms of price. And it's counterintuitive, because if the value equation is real, then the lower the price goes, in essence, the higher the value goes. So the value now, if you believed in Bitcoin's value, one Bitcoin's value at 73,000, the price being lower should actually excite you more, but people don't get excited because they've been trained to think in terms of price, not in terms of value. Every long-term investor thinks in terms of value, not in terms of price. And so that's a very, very interesting psychological shift that needs to happen for a lot of people, that most people get trapped in. They'll make the investment on value, but then the investment turns into a trade based on the price. And you can't think like that. If you think like that, you're going to end up costing yourself money. And you see this all the time with people, especially, when it comes to Bitcoin. If you're holding for over a year, right, in America, you've got 20% capital gains tax. Well, you're building in yourself a 20% bear market by having to sell the asset, which is why these long-term holders, these new sophisticated buyers, won't really be selling. They might short the market in some other way, but they're not going to be selling the underlying asset because they're building in a bear market. And what happens if Bitcoin drops sub 20% and then just rockets back up again, right? They can't take that risk with an asset, so therefore they won't be selling it, right? Of course, there's tax-free investment accounts, but we're talking about here the majority of the capital that you see that's trading in and out of the market. There's no reason for them to actually sell the asset anymore, especially once the options come out on the ETF. Because if you think you're going to go through a bearish period in the markets, all you're going to do is buy some put options, right? You're going to take single-digit percentages of your overall investment value, buy some put options, and see what happens with that, rather than actually selling the asset, trying to buy later and paying a capital gains tax against it. So we're like 4 or 5 days into a sell period. Probably got 4 or 5 days more to go of this, and I think we'll be heading much higher after that, which is why I've been trying to tell you to get to one Bitcoin as fast as possible. You can decide whether you want to do that or not, but ultimately there are always only 3 rules to Bitcoin. Step number 1, you buy Bitcoin. Step number 2, shut the fuck up. And step number 3, you get fabulously wealthy.